Let me let you know who my guests are this afternoon on the show. Tonight, or rather this afternoon, we are very pleased to have with us Stella Cipriano. She's the head of programs at the Joyful Women's Organization, commonly known as Joywo. They train women-run chamas, particularly in rural Kenya, and provide them with table banking services. Also on the show this afternoon, Stephen Gadiru. They have an interesting story. The chairman of Victor Sacco. Get this, Victor Sacco started as a men's welfare group in a small village in Nyandarua over 20 years ago. Now one big Sacco. They have a great story to tell about the evolution of chamas. Maxwell Gishu is a financial coach, has been working with training chamas, particularly at Centonomy. All right, so before we get into our discussion, here are some quick facts on the five about the Chama movement in Kenya that is thought to have actually began in the 1960s on the back of the Harambee motto of pulling together. It was favored by women, but grew to be preferred by many others who are ignored by the traditional banking sector. And they have helped to encourage a saving culture and deepen financial inclusion. The second fact about it is that according to an FSD report, there are over 300,000 chamas in Kenya, and number three, collectively they control a total of 300 billion shillings in assets. Now, that same report says that as of 2018, 41% of Kenyans were already using chamas, compared to a little over 30% that were using the traditional banking system. Now, the Kenya Association of Investment Groups estimates that 1 in every 3 adult Kenyans is a member of an investment club, and they believe that the clubs have great potential to help the country grow immensely. 5 quick facts on the Chama movement, and now our discussion is next. All right, so like I said, I'm looking for your feedback. Are you a member of a Chama? What are some of the challenges you've got? Or what are some of the successes that you'd like to share with us? All questions will be answered this afternoon on the discussion today. Let me just now have you see the guests live here with me in studio. On my extreme right, which would be your left, is Stella Cipriano from Joyful Women's Organization. It's commonly known as Joywo, so I hope we can just mention that. Yes. Thank you for joining us on the program. And then we've got Stephen here, who's from Victor Sacco. Asante sana. And we can't wait to hear the story of how this has been running for over 20 years. Maxwell Gishu is a financial coach, will be giving us all the tips towards making sure that those chamas are properly run. Okay, so I think we begin with you, Maxwell. I think that would be the best place to begin. You've been training chamas and working with them for a while. Talk to us about maybe some of the common issues that affect chamas in Kenya.
All right. First and foremost is to say that Chama is really a great vehicle to uplift many around this country, not just the country, but across the world. And one of the things that help is because when you have a common goal, then it becomes easy to spur one another to good works. But having said that, some of the challenges that are common, we can start with Chamas. One of the greatest challenges, people are not able to transit from friends or as families to business, because Chama running now becomes a business. Just the way Yvonne and I would start a company and call it something limited company, we come with a different mindset. That is the greatest challenge, an inability to move from friends, or we are cousins, or we are workmen, into that business. The second one has to do with personalities. So one of the things we do at Centonomy is to take you through the personalities test for people to understand themselves and then understand their neighbor. So that means, Yvonne, we could have been friends, but when we get to the Chama, your personality manifests. So if Maxwell is choleric, then I tend to, overshare and tend to domineer the meetings.
Yes.
So in a meeting of 20 people, you keep having 2 to 3 guys who are the only guys who are always coming, contributing and talking. Not that the other 17 have nothing to say, but because we don't understand our personality, we forget, we are extroverted and we talk too much. So that for me is our second one. And the third one, which is very critical, is leadership. Now, just because we are friends, Yvonne, and you get to earn more than I do in the professional field, doesn't mean when we come to the Chama that Yvonne now becomes a chairman. Or you choose Maxwell because he has a big stomach and he drives a big car, right? We need to get a template or something to guide us on how we choose these leaders. Because everything rises and falls on leadership. It is true of any nation, of any company, every family, and any organization.
And any grouping that comes together.
Yes.
And we'll get into a little bit more about then how to overcome those, including some of the issues like financial good governance and propriety.
Absolutely.
Because I know I think everyone has a story of the treasurer akikimbia na
the laptop disappeared.
And the laptop disappeared, and we don't know whose turn it is. Stella, what's been your experience at Joywo? You're working with women, particularly outside, the urban centers.
Yes.
What are some of the major issues that the women chamas that you work with have to overcome?
Okay, one of the things is that because we are working with the rural woman at Joyful Women, what happens is that there's a literacy issue. So we have the literacy levels that are very, very low, especially in the rural areas where the women are not able to feed in their data as expected. But what I can say with that is something that can be overcome by ensuring that we train. That's our work, is to be able to capacity build them, train the women to be able to learn how to do that. The other thing is that we also have challenge of, there's no cash flow. Right at the bottom of the pyramid. Because we are very fast in the rural areas, the issue of cash flow also becomes a challenge. So most of them, they start very low, because at Joyful Women we do 200 shillings as the minimum savings per month. So you can imagine 200 in 1 year, what is that? It is 2,400. And the problem basically is usually the cash flow. So what we do is we help them with livelihoods. We teach them how do you start, with poultry, have your kitchen garden, be able to sell those products to the market, and we link them up to the market. The other thing is too much. Let me say, women have too much trust. Sometimes they overtrust one person, and that way the one who knows, like Mr. Maxwell has said, the one who knows it all is the one who now drives the group. And so most of the time you find that they overtrust one person, and then eventually that person lets them down. So what we are doing is doing a lot of capacity building, helping them to understand what Mr. Maxwell is saying. How do you lead a group? Whom do you choose as a leader? And how do you do those rotational, so that one person doesn't just have to be the leader all through in that group. Yes.
When you talk about financial literacy, tell us about, the table banking concept that, enables women to manage the money that they collect amongst themselves better.
Yeah. The concept of table banking is a concept where you come as a group, the women choose themselves. So it's not us who choose for them. You choose the members that you want to work with and the people that you trust. Trust is very key with table banking. Then from there, you write a constitution, which we help them now write the constitution, because again, we are trying to improve on them. So once they write the constitution, what happens is they put rules and regulations. Once they put rules and regulations, now they agree how much are they going to save per month. So from there, they are able to save, and whatever they put, that's why it's called a table banking, because you put your money on the table. So if you save 10,000, that very day, you borrow the money. So the concept that we have at Joyful Women, they borrow 2 times their savings that day. So if you have 10,000 and you have saved 1,000, you can be able to borrow 2,000. And the beauty about table banking is the mutual understanding. Sometimes the money is not enough. So what they do is that they agree who has the most pressing need. So they give that person the money. And then tomorrow, the next time they meet, there's another person who had remained the last time, they start with that person. So there's that mutual understanding. And therefore with that, now counting money is not an issue. record keeping is what now needs to be strengthened within the groups that we deal with. Okay. So that's what we basically do. So that's how they do. Then when they come back the next meeting, they come and repay back that money plus an interest. And that's what make, the interest is what makes stable banking very good, because at the end of the year, they share the dividends and the bonuses.
I see. Yeah. Okay. And it's, you know, the idea is putting, you know, so to speak, all your cards on the table. Yeah. So that everything is now out, you know, out in the open, and we all know what's happening. Exactly. Where is our money and how is it being used? Yes. And like we said, I think at the start of this is that it originally started and was perhaps more common with women, but now, you know, there's also some people who are doing this, different gender, different professions, different groupings. Stephen, let's hear your story. I mean, if you can do it very briefly. You now are the chair of Victor's Sacco. Yes. It's now grown to be a Sacco, but its origins were a welfare group for men.
For men.
Tell us about at least that beginning. Oh,
thank you, Madam Yvonne, for this invitation. Our Victor's Sacco had a very humble beginning. Right inside from a very small village called Shauri in Nyandarua North Sub-County. A very So what we did, see, because we really wanted to be addressing issues among men. So we came together, a few men. The whole thing started with 2 men. Initially done, we brought some 12 more to make 14. So we started with the 14 men. So what we started a merry-go-round activity of contributing 50 shillings per hand, 50 shillings only, plus 20 shillings for refreshments. We ensure that as we meet, we had something to refresh ourselves. Our meetings normally started at 3 p.m. in the evening. So what we did, we brought them together, and see, because we really wanted to really be handling these small, minor financial needs. So also we had other issues regarding sickness, illness, all damage issues. So we wanted also, as we also do the merry-go-round activity, also a welfare kind of, so where we would come in case one of us had an issue. So it kicked off that way, but our entry point was Dala vetting. Dala vetting. We knew, everybody knows that where there are men, you must be very strict. So our first step was to formulate.
I'm glad you said it.
Very strict. So we formulated very good and strict bylaws.
Okay.
Very strict to be followed to the letter. So to start with, arrival time was 3 p.m.
Okay.
If you were to come 1 minute past 3 p.m., then you had to pay 10 shillings a fine.
Okay.
Not negotiable.
Yeah.
1 hour later, 10 shillings.
Okay.
You see, if you fail to come, 50 shillings. So it was like that. One time, the first chairman wanted to test us. So you see, during one of our members was hosting the meeting that time. The chairman went to greet the mother of the hosting member. So by doing so, he came late like 3 or 4 minutes. He gave it as a reason that I want to greet the mother of so-and-so. So he was told, chairman, you know our bylaws.
Time.
10 shillings on the table. And he had to pay the 10 shillings. So we are strict. I also once a victim trying to locate the gate of the family. I was told, you would have come earlier. To locate that gate. So it was that strict. You could get men learning to beat that time.
Absolutely. And
discipline and commitment.
I like that. Yeah. So if you can, I know we can't condense the history of your organization and its evolution, you know. But so at what point did you then say, okay, does it move from 14 men, and then you decide to register this and to the Sacco that we know today?
Yeah. What will happen, Madam Yvonne, is that some men of the like mind continuously applied to join the group. So we submitted them to that vetting process. You let an application, then you told go out. You'll be vetted by the members. The character, are you involved in the beating your wife? Alcohol, you'll had big noise at night. So if you were subjected and then you failed, you are told rejected, maybe till another date. So if you are around, you'll be now be number 15. The next one 16. That way, until as a time we were 25. Then finally, you see, the number accumulated to 57. That's when we decided now to register a circle. After we were advised by our manager, who was of the cooperative bank in Nyahururu. By then we had 260,000 shillings. So we are now register.
So you have 260,000 shillings, 57 members, and that's the point you say, you know what, let's take this to the next level.
But something in addition,
yes,
please. You see, when we decided to register a circle, a few members had a different opinion. That when you bring in other people, they are going to disintegrate the circle and fail. So they pulled out. We'll try to persuade some, but eventually 3 left. We were left with 54.
And that brings me to the next question, which is about having a common goal. Maxwell, is that also something that Chama's
Absolutely. Everywhere we have 2 or 3 people coming together, the number one thing that unifies us is having a common goal. And I want to give an example about Chamas. Even some Chamas started, like maybe your girlfriends from your former high school, you guys are meeting once every month. Then we decide every time we meet at this restaurant, we end up spending, let's say, 10,000. Then 5-6 months later, we decide, guys, why can't we spend maybe 5 and then get to save 5? So there are some Chamas that started, they really didn't have a goal or an objective of what they really wanted to do. It was just born out of friendship or camaraderie or whatever any other bond that was there. And I usually say how the Chama started really for me I don't care about it. It's now that we've realized this is where we are and we really want to be serious about it. So one of the things we would help do is help you come up with a unified goal. Like Stephen was saying, we are different people with different aspirations from different backgrounds, different experiences and all that. So we need to come together and brainstorm. I tell Chamas, you'd rather do this a whole day. Brainstorm, where do we want to go? Because like I said, we are different people, and I hope the person leading, like Stella was saying, leadership is very important, gets to hear from everyone. Even these people who are quiet, they say, I think what I wanted to say has been said. Say, okay, say it in your voice, because we didn't hear it in your voice. So that we get everyone's idea. Because when I keep coming and I don't feel like my thoughts or my concerns are also taken care of, then we cease to have that camaraderie. So the first thing is for us to decide where do we want to go. We might not be very definitive. I'm sure even Stephen will tell us today where they are. Probably they never saw it that way. But let's have at least something we can agree on. Then once we have that, a goal is very important. Once we have that, now we can talk about the constitution, because it's a vehicle upon which we will use to access that goal. So a goal is very important for any group.
And that goal can change along the way.
Absolutely. Even COVID period has shocked us, even from the business world. There are people who never thought we would go online, but we had to, because it's either you adapt or you die. And sometimes even this group, when we started, maybe we started after a campus. You know, in campus, we've got too many aspirations, we know nothing of the world, and we think, oh, adulting is easy. Then we come out, and then we get these challenges. People are getting children, these things are happening. Then we realize, guys, we really need to be serious about it. So can we start and refine our vision? It was just about buying someone a suit so they can go for an interview, but 2 of us, 3 of us have gotten kids, and we are wondering what will happen when they go to school. So can we refine? So the vision can keep evolving and growing, and that's why we need to keep reviewing. And like I said before, we need to run these groups as professional organization. Every year, can we audit where we are? What was our plan? Have we achieved what we wanted? What have we invested in? Is it giving us the returns or not? Do we hold or do we sell, right? That's why we need that meeting, and we need to track it. Even you'll be shocked, there are groups that have money. There's a group that came to St. Onome because they realized they have 2 million. Then they said, we just realize we have money and we don't know what to do
with it.
Because guys who are consistent and disciplined in giving their contributions, then the world happened, guys travel to different countries. Now they realize you have 2 million. So now what can we do? So we talk about goals, we talk about the constitution. What Stella was saying is very important. And then that constitution, everyone needs to feel it addresses them
their
and their
needs.
needs.
Yes. And we'll come back and talk about investments, like what you do with that money.
Yes.
Because I guess that's also another thing. It's one thing for it to be that it's your turn. If you're doing monthly meetings, it's your turn to receive, you know, all the money that's been collected over time. But it's also something else to do something more with that money, and what options exist for Chamas in that respect. We'll come back and talk about that. What sort of benefits have you seen with the women groups that you've been working with?
Wow. One of the first thing that I can say is the social capital. When you meet together as women, they are able to have that social capital. They are able to cushion themselves, especially on issues affecting them socially. One of the studies we did with one of the UN bodies that helped us to be able to know what is it that the women are doing on the ground. We wanted to see the impact. And one of the things that came out is that women started getting, you know, they felt that they are now involved. They were courageous enough to come out and speak. When they went to the group, they were able to find also that there are people there and they could share their stories and they could be advised. So the social capital bit of it is one of the biggest one. The second one is the financial muscle. This one also is something that women, most of the time, if you look at our society, we are the one on the receiving side. And so most of the time you'll find a woman maybe borrowing money to be able to do duties in the house, like buying things for the family. But when they get into these chamas and they do the table banking, they are able to go home with something. They are able to start a business. We've seen people start business with 1,000 shillings, businesses which have thrived. We've seen people leave illicit brews. You know, they were doing that, and they have come out, and now there are people who have cars. We have there's one lady who has a tractor. She has a car. She's disabled, and she's been able to do all that through the table. So that is another benefit, the financial muscle. They are able now to have cash that they can call their own. In fact, in some areas. The research was when we did the research, the women were saying, "Sasa joyful women ni bwana yetu." It was such a funny statement that joyful women ni bwana yetu. Yes. But what they are trying to say is that at least now they have a voice. Yeah. The other thing is they are able to do decision making in the house because now they have the funds. Absolutely. And if you look at most of if the men could speak, the men whose women are in the table banking, if they could speak, most of the time the women have really helped them. And I could share a story of a situation whereby when the table banking was starting, the men were so skeptical. You women, you're going to have your gossip and all that stuff. But after a period of time, when they see the growth, and the women even took the men for an outing, you know, to go and have fun, and they paid the bill. They realized now they would even remind the women that go to the chama, and they were willing to take care of the kids. To take care of the kids as you go to the chama, because they saw the power, because they also benefited. So apart from just the woman benefiting, everybody else benefits. Because as they say, when you give the woman, the society benefits. Absolutely. I don't know what happens with the man's money.
Victor Sutala, I want you to hold that thought. It's a great conversation. Yes. So we really do need to take a break, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about that. I'm also seeing a couple of questions, so keep your thoughts coming. There's a question from Harrison on deciding on the mode of registration between a self-help and a welfare group. Karuga will get to your question and much more of your comments after this break. It's Chama Day today here on Business Now. We're back in a moment.